Hello, and welcome to Over the Binary, the official podcast of Gender Wellness of Los Angeles. My name is Grace O'Connor, and I am a California licensed marriage and family therapist and vice president of Gender Wellness of Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Casey Whiteson. I'm also a California licensed marriage and family therapist and the president and founder of Gender Wellness of Los Angeles. And Grace, I just have to say, we haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm really excited about today's guest. So I'm really excited to get started.
Me too. I'm so excited to have Gina here. Our guest is Gina Bigham, program manager of the Trans Lounge at the Los Angeles LGBT Center and a woman of trans experience. She has been a center employee since 2011 and has made her mark on the organization, not only with the Trans Lounge, but also as the longtime leader of Trans Pride L.A., which is unbelievable, one of the oldest and best attended trans-specific pride events in the country. Along with her work at the center, Gina is also known throughout the community as one of the co-founders of Wild Side's Sin City Soiree, founded in 2007 and continuing to this day. The Sin City Soiree is a week-long empowerment party in Las Vegas, bringing together hundreds of trans individuals from all over the globe. So please join me in welcoming Gina to the podcast.
Hi, Casey. Hi, Grace. It's so wonderful to be with you today. I'm so excited.
We're so honored to have you here, Gina.
Oh, it is my absolute joy and pleasure.
Well, great. And like I said, it's so nice to see you. We've been wanting to have you on our podcast for a long time, so I'm excited. We're almost in the month of December of 2023, and boy, has it been a year, huh? So I just wanted to say, since 2005, and with you at the helm, we have seen the Trans Lounge grow to almost 5,000 members from all throughout the world. So I guess the first question is, what drew you to working in the trans and non-binary communities as well as the Trans Lounge?
You know, it's funny because growing up, I knew when I was 7 who I was, but I was very, very guilt-ridden and scared. And so, as many of us do, we don't activate these feelings until much later in life. Well, I had finally, in my late 30s, early 40s, it was actually after my mom passed away, but I was living in Northern California, getting ready to move down here. I developed some friendships down here, and it was like, this is kind of where my support system was in Southern California. So I was with a friend of mine, and we were shopping down at Santee Alley. And prior to all this, I tried to live that guy life and do all the right things and everything. And I was so apathetic. I just nothing really mattered as before. But so I'm shopping with a friend, and we are not accosted, but we're walking on a closed street. We're crossing at the middle of the street, and a police officer on a motorcycle beeps his siren and says, "You two come over here." And we're like, "Us?" And I'm very new, very early in my transition, as was my friend. So we go over there, and the officer says, "You were jaywalking." Like, well, it's a closed street, so there's no cars. It's like, "You were jaywalking. IDs, please." ID didn't match presentation at that time. And so the officer decided to start calling us sir. Sir this and sir that and da 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 da. And I said, would you be so kind? We're trans, we're not sirs. Well, I just go by what I see. He was just a real jerk. So he gave us jaywalking tickets, $280 for these tickets. And after this experience, I was like, both my friend and I were just like, what just happened here? Because, living the life that I had led before, I was very nondescript. I was very under the radar, and it was like, and let's be honest, I was, kind of experiencing that white male privilege, I guess. And so I'd never had any incidents like this. I'm like, oh my God, I think we've just gotten hit because we're trans. And it just so happened that my friend had started using the center's trans health program. And this was 2009, maybe 2010. And it was still the LA Gay and Lesbian Center. And she says, but I think they have a legal department. So we called them up and they said, we told them our story. They said, yes, we do have a legal department. We got connected with legal. They said, come in right away. Just get your butts down here. And so we went down there. We told them the story again. They marched us down to the Hollywood police station where we filed a complaint against that officer on the spot. After that, we were in like this mediation. We actually met with the officer at the center with some representative of the LAPD. And the officer did not apologize, but he did say, well, if I learned anything, I just won't say anything at all. I was like, oh, well, that's not an apology, and that's not very good. And then so the other guy was kind of sleazy, and he says, well, this has been a great conversation. He slides these two papers in front of me and my friend and says, well, if we just sign these, we can rescind the complaint, everything will be fine, and we can move on. And we're like, no, I don't think we're signing that. And so we ended up going to court.
Oh, gosh.
The center got us a lawyer. The center, prepared us for testifying and the whole thing. The officer was there. He misgendered us twice in court. And then, so we go through the whole thing, and then we get to the verdict. And, well, I should stop and just say, I will let you know, I am a convicted jaywalker now. But
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Gina. I mean, to have that on the record.
I know. So the officer says, well, the judge says, I do find that you were jaywalking. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to nail us too. He says, but I find the officer's treatment of you was very disrespectful and inappropriate. And so to that end, I am waiving all fees and fines with our apology. So it's like, hooray, we won, but in that moment, I realized, and I know it's a long story getting back to the question, but what drew me to working with the community was seeing for the first time in my life what community looked like. What a gender expansive, what the LGBTQ plus community looked like. They're helping me. I'm still living in San Francisco, basically at the time. I'm not even an LA resident. And here they are helping me through one of, a very traumatic time, and one of the first times in my life where I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it became very clear to me that it was like, I'm going to work at this organization and I want to give back to other folks what they've given to me, what the center has given to me, because they empowered me, they gave me confidence, and it became my goal then to work for the center. And I tried a couple of times, didn't get hired, finally got hired in a part-time role in our marketing and communications department in 2009. And no, I'm sorry, 2011. I got down here, I think, in 2009. But yeah, 2011, I started in Marcom and just kind of gathering ads and doing admin work and things like that. And that was it. It was that experience that I had with the LAPD, the center's involvement, what they did to comfort and to support and to uplift was like, whoa, this is really powerful stuff. And if I can harness that and give it back, then I think I've found my calling.
And I have to say, just the Trans Lounge, just in and of itself, is one of the most amazing organizations. And, the Trans Perceptions group on Friday night is just, changed my life when I transitioned. Going there on Friday nights, you were facilitating when I started there. And just to be able to go there and have the supportive community and be around other trans and non-binary people, and to have the meeting and then to go out afterwards and have something to eat with just everyone. So
yeah,
how to socialize as a transgender and non-binary person, that was just transformative.
It's so important to find, no matter who you are, no matter how strong of a person you are, it is vital for us to have that support of community. And oftentimes, I tell folks in our trans lounge groups, you don't have to talk. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to. Sometimes just sitting with community, hearing other stories, knowing you are not alone, that you're not the only one who's facing a certain problem. That in and of itself can inspire someone just to say, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not as dire or as bad as I think it is, because obviously we all go through our ups and downs on this path. But if we can have other folks sharing their experiences, telling their stories, and being vulnerable, being open and being vulnerable I think that is one of the gifts that I try to instill into our trans lounge spaces, is that, it's all about support for one another.
Yeah. And if I can, maybe ask, a little bit off of that, what you were just saying what's your favorite part about being an LGBTQIAA plus person?
Wow, there's so much. Geez,
Just saying that is in and of itself is amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, just being unique, being different, being authentic. To me, that's where it was, because as I said before, in my previous life or whatever you want to call it, I was just there. I had friends and I had, family and everything, but it didn't feel special. It didn't feel true. Obviously, I wasn't living my truth. And so to express that authenticity and to be living my truth each and every day I think that's my favorite part of being part of this community.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, with that, Gina, how can we support gender wellness in today's world? It's kind of a big question, but what do you think?
Well, I think part of what my last answer is just that how vital support is, and how important it is to. We have a lot of guidelines with our trans lounge groups, and one of them that is one of my personal favorites, because it's been very helpful for me, is we tell folks to lean into the discomfort. Because when you often are at the beginning parts of your journey, or whether you've been in the journey, for however long, things can be scary. Things can be, you're coming into a new space, you're coming to a new group, you are trying a new job, you're walking into a Target for the first time as your true self. All of these things are, terrifying. They're absolutely terrifying. And so having support around these big and small steps, as I like to say, there are no big or small victories. They're just victories. And as long as you are moving forward, everything is worth celebrating and being joyous about. Whether it's like, oh, I'm going to start electrolysis. It's like, well, I can't start hormones for another 6 months, but I can do other things. I could start with electrolysis. I can maybe I feel like I need to lose a few pounds or put on a few pounds, whatever it might be. But I think to support gender wellness in today's world is to have support. It's to offer things like we offer with Trans Lounge. It's not always the doom and gloom things too. A lot of our group spaces are, I don't want to say dark, but they're heavy. Trans perceptions can be a very heavy space. And I think it's important to balance that with some fun and some lighthearted sort of thing. Creativity workshops are big for us. We have a wellness workshop that we do once a month. We do creativity workshops. We've got a learn how to read tarot cards tonight, and so it's doing things that are not centered around our transness. Being trans is just part of it. makes it a little more comfortable and maybe a little more palatable for folks. But let's do some journaling. Let's learn how to do some comedy. Let's do this or that. It's trying to not just focus on the struggle, because we know the struggle is real and it is there and it is always going to be there. But if we can lighten that load a little bit and have some fun times, some social times, some just times to breathe with community. Let's take a hike. We do Trans Lounge, we do hikes every now and again. So it's just, I think for supporting wellness is all encompassing, obviously, because you can't reach everybody. And hopefully though, we can, we can get folks to lead into that discomfort a little bit and just kind of open themselves up. Because I think when you open up yourself, you open up your vulnerability, you let in so much positive energy, when you do that, I think that is a big part in keeping us well. Support.
I love that, Gina. And there was so much focus, I feel like, in the early stages of my transition on gender dysphoria. We always focused on gender dysphoria, and gender dysphoria is real and it's a struggle and we all experience it. Many of us experience, not everyone. But now I'm starting to see more people talk about gender euphoria and like what makes you feel good to be a gender, non-conforming person. And so I'm wondering, what is your favorite gender euphoria moment?
Oh my, there's so many. One thing that I always love, and it doesn't happen as much now because, after the pandemic, we started doing things a little differently. But with Trans Lounge, we have a binder exchange program. And in the before times, folks would come to the village to pick up their binder. The look on their face when it's a brand new binder and they grab it and they say, "I'll be right back." And they run to the bathroom and then they come back and they're beaming. I mean, you just cannot. I'm going to cry now just thinking about it. But, there's been so many instances where people you have no idea what this means to me. That you're just giving me this brand new binder, which is I never thought I could afford, and look at me. Look how flat it looks. Look at this. Oh,
Magical.
that's one. That's a biggie. That's a real biggie. One time, I'll tell you one that was really quick. This might be my favorite. It was at a Trans Pride event, and you know how I am at Trans Pride. I'm running around like a chicken with no head, and a person stopped me and said, as I get often, it's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I was like, "You're going to have to do a little better than that because I'm running around, I'm busy." And he says, "Well, in my early days at the center, I had prodded them to let me do a trans-specific Facebook page as part of the center. And there was somebody who had emailed or sent a message to that email or to the Facebook page saying, I'm experiencing suicidal ideations. I'm really scared. I want to come out, but I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do. And I heard about this group and I've been trying to come for months, but I just can't get out the door." And I said, "Well, look, you're in luck. I'm facilitating that group tonight. I will sit next to you. I'll meet you out front. I'll bring you in. You can sit next to me. I got you. I got you." And they said, "Well, I'll try. Well, they came and they had a great time. Might have gone out with y'all afterwards. Who knows?
Probably did.
But that was the last I saw of him. And I started to think, I'd messaged them back and I didn't hear anything. And I was getting a little concerned. And then, life happens and I didn't have any contact. A year later or so, I'm at Trans Pride and this person comes up to me and they say, "Well, I'm the one that wrote you that message. I'm the one that you sat next to." And he says, "I just wanted to tell you that I've gone from wanting to take my own life. Now I'm in school. I'm a junior at UCLA. I have a girlfriend. I have an apartment. I have a part-time job. I'm living the life. I'm doing it all. And it was, he says, and it's because of you. It's because you showed me kindness and got me into the door, because that group inspired me. And I didn't need to come back because it got me the confidence that I needed to start my journey. And that was, and so, somebody snapped a picture of that moment, and I treasure it. I have it somewhere on my table, but I just absolutely treasure it, because that was such a dear moment. And just to know that you had that kind of impact.
Yeah.
And I always tell folks, we're all advocates, we're all activists, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sign my petition, or, we're going to march tomorrow, or wave the flag. Simple interactions, touching one person. It could be 1,000 people. It could be one person. That's activism. That's changing lives. If you can do that, so I encourage everybody, do a little, share a little kindness. There's a great Kate Bornstein quote. It's like, do what you must to make your life more fulfilled. Just don't be mean.
Just don't be mean. Yeah. Well, I would just say, to add to that there have been many times when I've had clients that I've tried to push them towards Trans Lounge and everything, and they're scared shitless. And then I'll say, well, go find Gina and go sit next to her and tell her that you're scared, and that, that you're a client of ours. And I promise you, she will take care of you. And same thing with allies, a lot of times that once a month is obviously the only time I've been able to go, but I've been able to get dads to go with their daughters, and just kind of, which really helps the client a lot if they can bring an ally. I'm sure you've seen that. But I think that I've always really appreciated the fact that we can go and that the allies can go, because a lot of times it's just helping that person just walk through that door, or get in the car and say, you're going to be okay, but I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Again, like I said, it all comes back to support.
beautiful. Well, with that, I was going to ask you, what changes are you seeing in the teen and adolescent population in your work at Trans Lounge that gives you hope?
Wow. Great question, because we just hired a new Trans Lounge program supervisor. His name is Arkaz. He's amazing. He's 25. It's like, oh my God, I have shoes that are older than Arkaz, but they are brilliant. They're just brilliant. And he's very organized, and he is very astute. And I see that in so many of our young folks today. And I think that's kind of where I get the hope, is that they, for all the misinformation and the things we hear about Gen Z and millennials and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, what I'm seeing are thoughtful, intelligent, just really, really passionate people who are listening to the elders, who are taking in their history. Our cause is a big proponent, as I am, of knowing our trans history. We just did an event for before TDOR of creating trans oral traditions, and they're just storytelling circles, But it's being able to share the knowledge that of the elders, know where we've come from, to help guide where you're going. I think is something that really excites me with young folks today, and that they are, I love doing intergenerational sort of events and things, because when they click, And we did a movie screening once. We showed the film Screaming Queens, which is a great doc by Susan Stryker. And after we had this really wholesome talk back, and one of our elders, he was a gay man, but he said, well, I was not in San Francisco, but in the '60s, I was in Chicago. I did a lot of drag, and I was arrested. I was beaten up. I was thrown in the back of the wagon and the whole thing. And, when he finished sharing his story, people clapped and like stood up and applauded. And it was almost like, when you see a veteran, he said, well, thank you for your service. It was that kind of response and reaction. It was like, thank you, not only for sharing that, but for being there and for being visible at a time when, you could be arrested for doing so. And it just warms my heart when we see those connections between our younger community and our trans elders. That to me is where I get a lot of excitement, is seeing how just how brilliant a lot of these folks are, and the passion that they have for the work. It's different work now. Work is different than it was when we were coming up. And I'm really excited and happy that they take better care of themselves.
Yeah.
Self-care. I know I can talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk. It's like, I'll take care of everyone else. And then when I have a minute, I'll try to take care of myself. But they're way more honest with themselves, and they are way more in tune with how to get work done, how to get the job. And when I say the work, I mean the mission, what's coming down the line. I think of people like Zoe Zephyr, who we had at Trans Pride last year, and I was so fangirling off Zoe Zephyr. And our cause, someone who I've probably got, t-shirts that are older than, but they are so brave. And that word gets thrown around a lot, but to do what they're doing, and we thought, oh, we're so brave and we were and are, by living our true selves, but doing it in these very public arenas with all of this hate and vitriol around you, and to just have such grace and such power, it's like, okay, we're in pretty good hands.
It's so inspiring.
It is.
Gina, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it is my pleasure.
I know our listeners learned a great deal, and I know Casey and I did as well. We appreciate your service to our community and look forward to joint collaborations in 2024. And thank you all for listening, being part of our show today. For more information on the Trans Lounge and all services at the LA LGBT Center, go to translounge.org and the LALGBTcenter.org, respectively. For more information on Casey and me and the services offered at Gender Wellness of Los Angeles, please visit us on the web at genwell.org. Follow us on our socials. Stay safe and have a restful holiday season. Thanks again, Gina.
Peace, y'all.